Great to see y'all joining me. We've got folks from, well, I'm in California, US, Georgia, Detroit, Philippines, but in India. Amazing. I always like asking that question because it's incredible to me that folks from all over the world want to come learn with me. So it's very humbling and it's great to have you all here. We are going to talk about Loom, and we're going to start in this one with just some basics. This is going to be part of a series I do where every 5 or 6 weeks I have another version of this. So if you're watching this in recording and have live questions, or if you have friends or want to stop in again later, by all means be on the lookout for another version of Loom for beginners. But we're going to talk about what Loom is. We're going to talk about some concepts about Loom, so we'll start out with a couple of slides, and then I'll get hands-on with a Loom Premium account to show you how I use it and how these buttons that I was talking about work. So it'll be a little bit of talk and a little bit of hands-on, and I'll do my best to explain how I've been using it and the benefit I get from it. I do also have another event this Thursday that I'll have a QR code for. I'll be talking to the people at Loom, and we'll be discussing more use cases and getting a little bit more in depth. So if you're looking for more Loom info, Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, I believe. It's also going to be, I think, rebroadcast at different times, but I'll have information at the end there. So we're going to jump in and start talking about Loom. So first, quick introduction. Morning, Sarah. My name is Rob, and I've worked in some kind of help desk role my entire career. I began as a university help desk student worker, and ever since then, some kind of role in information technology. I've been a project manager, knowledge base manager, consultant, mostly in some kind of project work. And one of the big through lines is there's always been some kind of need for documentation and information sharing. And in the beginning, this took the form of just writing things down in a knowledge base. But more recently, I've been using Loom for the past 3 years to help share information asynchronously. So that means not at the same time. I'm able to make a recording that others can view at their convenience. And this has been very useful for me because before this, I've had to rely on different tools to be able to do this. Things like QuickTime and make a recording and then upload the video or put it in a shared drive somewhere and hope someone can read it. But a big advantage for me of Loom is it's in the cloud. It's just available wherever I can log in, and I can get in and share all of this with my team, and they can see and hear me, and we can interact without having to be live. I've also, little fun fact at the bottom there, worked a lot with HR teams, so you'll see me use that as a reference or as an example, like human resources. But you can insert any kind of team into what I'm going to be talking about. It's not just for HR, not just for IT. The entire Atlassian community from Cologne is here. I love that. Now, YouTube is great because I can talk and you can see and hear me, but I can't see and hear you. So please use the chat. Some of you have found it already. It's over my left shoulder to your right. You'll see me ask questions just to engage you and see what's going on. You'll also see other people in chat, though. So if you want to interact with other people, if you have ideas, if you have something you can share, or even answering a question, that's something that you could just jump in. And Justin, I do have a lot of current use cases for QuickTime. So Loom is wonderful for many things, but I also have bad habits that are taking a long time to die. Also, if you can subscribe to the channel, that helps me, lets me know that you like this content and like the stream. That helps other people find it. And you can also hit a share button to save it and then share it with colleagues. I guarantee you someone you work with or someone you know could benefit from this information but couldn't make it today. So please share this recording with others so they have access to it. And if you want to hear about my QuickTime journey, please join us in Discord. We've got a server going just to chat and communicate about Atlassian products, including Loom. A quick agenda. I mentioned some concepts. So we'll be talking about what is Loom, some use cases for it, and some other things around it. Excuse me. Just so we all understand the concepts and ideas. And I find this to be important because after this, when you go look up information or when you go talk to a colleague about it, it's hard to do that if you don't know what Loom calls the features or ideas. So you're going to go away from this not only with a hands-on knowledge of how to do the recordings and how to share and how to edit, but you're also going to go away from this with a good idea of the concepts and terminology so you can keep getting help later. We'll talk about use cases and features and the controls, and then we'll do our best to get hands-on. We'll do a little recording live. I'll show you what it looks like to share it and control it and all of these things. Christopher, welcome from Nashville. So my first question for y'all, have you used Loom? And if so, what for? And just to get an idea of who's actively used it, again, I personally didn't use it until an organization I worked at started, got us licenses. And now it's something I use pretty much daily for a wide range of things. And I'll share those after this question. I like this little side discussion about how great QuickTime was for movie trailers. That's not something... What did I use when I was younger? Wow. Christopher, not yet. So that's suggesting you are going to use Loom. Kimo, welcome back, my friend. Krimo, I thought that might be you, my friend. So the first question that I ask myself is, what even is Loom? This is my description. It's a cloud-based video tool for collaboration. It's currently owned by Atlassian. I believe they acquired them in the past 2 to 5 years. I don't know the exact timing. But again, the big advantage for me, or one of them, is it's all cloud-based. And that's one. I don't have to download software. I can easily get people access, just ensure they have a license, that kind of thing. But also because it's owned by Atlassian, it's tightly integrated with their services. I don't know why it's got that little sample thing there. Loom does not have to be used with Atlassian. It can be used standalone. So I'll show some examples and talk about how I happen to use it with other Atlassian stuff. But it is a standalone product that you can use just to record and share and do all this great stuff. However, if you happen to use Jira or Confluence, there are some very nice integrations to just drop Loom videos directly into those platforms as well. So that's like an added bonus if you happen to use those things, but again, not required. The thing to keep in mind is it's built for this collaboration. It's meant to help reduce the need for us to jump on a Zoom call or some kind of webinar, and it's meant to reduce the need for us to have to, go record files and store them somewhere. They're all just available in the cloud, and we can drop them in exactly where we need them. Now, there's a number of use cases. These are not all of them. These are just ones that I have tripped over. Chad, am I using Loom right now? I am working on doing a webinar just through Loom. I am not using it to share my screen at this point, but that is something I am tinkering with because I think it would be a lot of fun to use Loom to teach people about Loom. I'm using something called OBS to get my head to float around like this. But I like the idea. I started using Loom to make how-to articles. A large part of my role is to help teams understand how different software products work. And so I would go into Loom and record, here's how to log into the system. Here's how to perform this feature or this function. And then I would add that to my written documentation. So someone would come in and they would see this video first, and then they would get the step-by-step. Now, the funny thing for me is since I started using Loom, they've added a lot of great AI features, one of which is to, transcribe and build a summary of documents. So it's even easier for me at this point. I can just do the recording. And again, I'm on the premium tier, and it can just generate a summary, which I can then flip into my documentation. So it's speeding up my ability to build these how-to articles. But I've also used it for bug reports. I see something wrong in a system. I can just hit one button, start recording, and then share that with an engineer or support team and say, this is exactly what I saw. And this is neat because we'll talk about the Chrome extension. It lives in Chrome. So it's very easy for me or other folks that I work with to quickly record these things because it's right there on the screen and they don't have to go anywhere. There's little friction. I've seen people using it for making notes, like something I just want to remember. And this can be like a video diary almost, is one way I think of it, where you can start just recording it. And then you have these notes that are available. Again, it does transcribe. And since I created this deck, I'm pretty sure, Loom can now sit in on meetings. So if you use, say, Zoom, it can sit in meetings and help you take notes. So that's another way that this tool is leveraging being in the cloud and also having a bit of AI connected to it to help us just keep track of everything. One thing I didn't know it could do was take screenshots. And I did not know about that because I only use the cloud version. I only use the Chrome extension. There is a desktop version. I'll talk about that in a moment. And that does allow you to take screenshots and do like overlays and graphics and arrows and things. That I've also found very useful as a screenshotting tool, because again, it saves it to the cloud. Many of the tools I use for screenshots in the past save it locally on my computer, and that makes it hard if I'm moving around or if I need to quickly share it. And you can also use it to edit. It has a built-in editor. I wouldn't be building, a Hollywood movie in there, but as you'll see when I make a recording, I can go in and I can cut out pieces of it where I'm going or other things. Seeing some great questions in here. TLC, the learning channel includes Loom, Dan? Acronym, please. Oh, TWC, there we go. Could you just spell out TWC? And just asking so folks who are unfamiliar with that, maybe even myself in this case, know exactly what you mean. Dagny, I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. Can we use it with Microsoft products? Loom works with everything. It's an independent standalone product that happens to be tightly integrated to Atlassian. I don't know offhand. I haven't used Edge or Teams. I don't believe there is an Edge extension like there is for Chrome. There is a download you can put on your desktop, though. And Teams, again, I don't believe there's a direct integrations with Teams, but you can have the desktop software installed on your computer and do your recordings from there. And then you'll get a hyperlink you can share to the video. So again, it doesn't require you to use, I'll pick on Confluence. However, if you're not using Chrome, this Chrome extension wouldn't be available, but there's a download on your desktop. And the desktop download actually has a couple more features. Again, it can do things like take screenshots, and it can also track your mouse. This is something that, at least last I checked, it won't show when you're recording, like highlighting the mouse. And so I started using the desktop one mainly for the screenshots. That said, the Chrome is very quick. It's a very lightweight install if you're using the Chrome browser. And that's how I started using it. The organization I was at happened to have it. And then anytime I open Chrome, there's a little button in the corner I can just click on. Thank you, Cologne, for jumping in. Someone mentioned, here we are. Sammy, hope I'm saying that right. Atlassian, at their last big conference, announced the Teamwork Collection, which is Jira, Confluence, and Loom, 3 of their products bundled. And I believe that Loom is included in that bundle if you have it. Otherwise, it's an entirely separate SKU, and we'll take a look at the pricing page in a bit. And so you can get it independently of that bundle. So again, if you're using Edge and Teams, or you can add it on to anything else you're using. But again, the big thing about the Chrome extension is it requires Chrome, so you'll have to be on that. The desktop version does also require a download, so some organizations may not allow you to download software without permission. So that's something to consider. But again, for me, I've liked the desktop version just because of the extra features. You get a little bit more. Now, in my mind, when I think of Loom, there's 2 things that I'm using a lot. And this is, again, my perspective. The biggest one is the video. It's the screen capture. I'm able to go in and I can record exactly what's happening. I can show you how to log into Loom and do the thing. But I can also optionally record myself. And I think Chad asked me, am I using Loom right now? But when you record in Loom, you can have your own video in the corner. And this I found to be very useful. It humanizes the video. It makes it more engaging and people can see and hear you. So you can optionally include your own video and audio as you're talking through, but you don't have to. So, excuse me. Sometimes if I'm sending a quick video, I turn off the camera and audio just so people can focus on what I'm showing them. But when I'm doing something like a product update and I'm talking to senior leadership, I make sure they can see and hear me so they get a little bit more information. I get them a little bit closer to being in person so they get a better experience learning. But again, you can just record the screen itself. And then we've got these screenshots. I do a lot of screenshots. I do a lot of screenshots with arrows and things like that. And because I find that helps folks figure out what am I talking about, it makes it easier in my documentation for people to see exactly what I mean. And it's something that can enhance and improve the experience. So my own personal approach to this is I'll have the video, I'll have text explaining it, and then I'll have screenshots in the text. And I can do almost all of that through Loom. It keeps me in one spot. Kari likes a screen cap while talking through it. Yeah, it makes it feel more live. It would be like if I turned off my camera for this whole thing and all you saw were the slides, you might get good information, but you get a little bit more when you can kind of see me making weird faces because I think I made a mistake or something. Now, Loom isn't just about recording things. Again, I'm picking on QuickTime a lot, but that's a tool I still happen to use. So it's not just about making the recording and then I have it. That would be good. What's great about it is I can then organize and share it. So it's really meant for collaboration. It's just doing it with the video. And by default, we all get what they're now calling a space. So it's just a way to organize. It's like a library. As I make recordings or screenshots, you'll see in this image on the right, I have a video tab, an archive tab, and a screenshots tab. And so as I'm recording and creating this content, it's automatically getting stuffed into my Loom library. Now from here, I have a lot of options. I can choose to share it with people in my organization if I have an organization. I can choose to not share it at all. I can make it public. I have all these different ways of helping people collaborate with it. And this for me is really the value. Again, in my role, I am creating all of this knowledge about how to do something. I need to make sure my team can easily get to it. And so I can just drop it in a folder, or I can, with a few clicks, share it with entire parts of my organization. And then I know that these teams get what they need. Now, spaces let you add a little bit more organization. If we think of Loom as a library, like the structure, within it, we can organize it in rooms called spaces. So we might have a space for the support team. We might have a space for product updates. We might have a space for how-to. And these spaces make it easier for folks to navigate because they know, hey, everything for support lives in this part. I mentioned collaboration. The most obvious way is by sharing. You can share your Loom recordings and images and things with people. And this makes it easier for them to access them. But you can also comment. And this is another really big plus in my mind. I've built out entire learning courses using Loom as the recording. And I can get instant feedback from my testing group. I just ask them, hey, go to Loom and put a comment directly in the video. And I'll see the comment at the timestamp they clicked comment. So if someone's watching it, they can tell me exactly at 1 minute and 43 seconds what I said was confusing. Or, the screenshot didn't make sense. Or they really liked it, or something else. And so this has made it very easy for me to collaborate with my teams because I don't have to send them somewhere else. They don't have to write down in a document the timestamp of their comment. I can see it directly in the recording, and then I can take action from there. Now, I've mentioned this integration with Atlassian products. If you happen to use them, you'll see a Loom video button or a record button just show up. And I happen to use these at work, so this makes it even easier to use this product. But again, this is not necessary. It just happens to be tightly integrated with Jira and Confluence. So if you're using those platforms, you'll see these record buttons show up, and you can just click them. You'll have to connect your Loom account, but then you can instantly drop in, say recordings into your Confluence document or bug reports directly onto a Jira work item. We'll talk about pricing in just a minute, Sarah, once we get live. So there are some integrations directly with Atlassian, and I'll have to check and see if there's integrations to other systems, just to see if there's other ways to tie it in. All right, that's a lot of talking, but now some thinking. How many recordings or screenshots do you think you take daily? I know what my answer is, and it's probably a very large number. And I'm asking this question because as I started thinking about it, I started to realize quite a lot. There were, a lot more of these than I thought. And I only really realized it after I started using Loom. Excuse me. Now, again, in the past, I have had two separate tools. I had one for my recordings, and I had a different one for my screenshots. And that might just be because I didn't know how my tools worked. But again, I've got this Loom download on my computer that does both of these things, and it goes to the cloud. And those are, again, major pluses for me. I don't have to worry about finding them. For example, if I take a screenshot on my Mac, it just saves a file to the desktop with a very ugly file name. Looking right now, I have about 10 of those, and I don't know what they're for. um, Chad, Snagit is a name that I used to use. Um, Alistair takes half of a screenshot every day. I love it. I think you mean 1 to 2 daily, my friend. Sarah uses the built-in tool. I believe that's the built-in tool in Windows, the snip. What am I trying to say here? Mac also has a built-in screenshot. It's like Command-Shift-4 on the keyboard. It does that. Chad over 50, 10. Sammy, I'll try to come back to that question towards the end. I got you, Alistair. Jennifer, about 25. So we spend a lot of time screenshotting and recording. And it's something that for me just became second, like a habit. I'm looking at a screen. Oh, I'm going to screenshot that. Oh, I'm doing this thing. I got to open QuickTime and record. Now, Loom makes it simple. In the Chrome extension, you just get this little Loom icon, which I'll call that a sunburst for now. I need a good name for that. Maybe I'll ask the people at Loom on Thursday. Lots of using Snagit. Yep. So it lives up in the browser if you've got the extension. Or if you're on the desktop, you can assign hotkeys. And this is something that I have started doing. I've just replaced the built-in Mac hotkey, Command-Shift-4 or whatever it is, and I've remapped that to Loom. So it's the same habit. I hit the same exact buttons, but instead of going to the Mac built-in screenshotting tool, it goes to Loom. And so this is just improving my workflow. There's no extra step of having to put it in Loom or learn a new hotkey. I will say the only thing that trips me up is if I use a different computer that has different hotkey mappings, I then have to remember what the other hotkeys are. So if you do that, if you remap what the recording buttons are, just remember they're different. Lots of people using Snagit. Interesting. Atlassian Cologne, you just said my go-to is, and then a gap, and then lives in my browser. Oh, I like that, Chad. It's a starburst if you're a star with Loom. Okay. Now, there is a control panel that's going to pop up, and we'll see this live. But you can choose, and again, this was from the desktop video or screenshot, and you can also tell it what to record. So typically I record the whole screen because I want them to see everything, but maybe you only want to record one window. Or if you have multiple monitors, you can specify which monitor to record, and then you can turn on or off your video or your audio. So as you're recording, you have this option, I don't want people to see me right now, or oh, they don't need to hear me. There are also some effects down at the bottom. You can do things like blur parts of the screen. You can add a digital background. So if you're familiar with webinars or conferencing, you can have a background behind you that's, different colors or a photo. But then you just have that big red button to start recording, and that kicks off your recording session. Now, while you're recording, please don't stare into the camera like I did in this screenshot, because that's terrifying me. You'll get a little preview of what you look like, and you can control the size, and then you can have this little control panel that'll let you start, stop, delete, etc. So again, for me, it was very intuitive. No one trained me on how to use Loom. They just said, oh, we've got this Loom thing. I said, cool. I pushed, the Loom icon. I pushed record, and I had my first recording. Of course, since then, training has been helpful. So I always encourage folks to practice. Sorry, my head's in the way. There we go. And there's a delete button. And there is also an Atlassian certification on Loom on the ACA series, which I'll go dig up while you all ponder this next question. I look like Benedict Cumberbatch? Really? I'm not that good looking, Justin. All right. Do you ever make mistakes? And I forgot, what do you do next? Sarah, I'm chuckling. The other day I had to use a piece of software that felt like it was from the 1990s. I'm sure the software was great and it did what it needed. But I sent a screenshot to a friend and he asked me, is this legitimate? Like, is this phishing or spamming? I said, no, this is what their interface looks like. And I'm chuckling about that, Sarah, just because like the amount of time and effort groups put into a good UI is visible when you see a good UI. And I think to your point, like for me, it was just intuitive. I could go in and figure out a recording in a few minutes. I didn't have to go reference anything. It just worked. I'm asking this question about making mistakes when recording because I make a lot of mistakes when recording. I'm going to start putting up goofs videos or outtakes for the members of my channel. So I do have channel memberships if you want to support what I do. Chad is a member, so you'll notice he shows up in green with a star, gets you access to videos early, that kind of stuff. But I'll have some outtakes videos that only members get to see of me making all sorts of mistakes in recordings. You said like Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay, gotcha, Justin. Chad makes mistakes, goes back and crops it out, or have the AI removes the ers. Yes. And that AI comment is interesting because we're starting to see a lot more of that. And Loom has, AI editing. When we talk about the tiers and the pricing, we'll point out where you get that. I think it shows up at the premium tier. But I do think it's worth it. I make a ton of mistakes when recording. What you'll see me do is I'll be talking and then I'll clap. Like I'll clap or I'll snap. And that way when I edit, and I'll show you what this looks like, I'll see it in the audio. And I can see where I think I made a mistake. And then I can just cut it out. The important thing to remember, and this isn't a Loom tip, this is just a recording tip. When you're recording, you make a mistake, pause, take a breath, and then start again from wherever the mistake was. Because then when you edit, you can just make that mistake disappear. It never happened. But that clap or snap helps you see it easily. Now, Loom has what it calls waveform editing. And what we see is a screenshot here of the audio waveform. So this is a representation of the audio in this recording that we can then cut things out of. And so we see this little split button, and I'll show you this live, but you can go in and find the part where you stumble, or you go uhs, the stuff you don't want people to see or hear, and you can delete it from the recording. Now, as of now, we can't insert things into the middle, and I'll talk about where we can insert things. But when I make a recording, especially if, I'll pick on senior leadership, it goes to them, I'm going to go through and eliminate all the things that I'm like, I don't like that. I can, of course, re-record it. That's always something I can do, but many times, if I just take a few minutes and listen to the recording and then chop out the bits I don't like, it's good. It can work. So this lets you, remove bits at the start that you don't want to share, or maybe in the middle you sneeze. You can get rid of all of that. Now you can add clips to the beginning or end of recordings. So if you realize, I have some great start I want to add, or if you realize I really need to re-record the second half of this thing, you can just record the second half and then stitch it on to the end of the recording. So there are ways you can kind of save or expand or extend your recordings without having to redo all the work. But you can't, as of now, insert it into the middle. When I need to do that, I have to download the Loom video, put it in an editing software, and do it there. All right, and this is my reminder to teleport us into Loom. Please keep the questions coming. I will, at the end, go through and just see if I happen to have missed anything. But I do want to get hands-on with Loom. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the pricing. And I'll drop this link right in the channel. Loom pricing. So that link will take you to this page. And this is where you can see the different tiers. Now, you can get a free tier of Loom, which is pretty neat. Of course, there are limits. You get 25 videos up to 5 minutes. But you can cram it into meetings. So you can store meeting recordings in Loom with this. And this ties into Zoom, Google Meet, and Teams. So 3 of the bigger products. And it does give you transcriptions as well as the comments. So for me, the free tier is pretty good for collaboration. I can make a recording of my how-to or my whatever, and then you can comment on it and give me feedback. And that for me is a huge step up from using, say, a QuickTime or sharing a file. Because of that commentability, I can see at the exact moment you have feedback, and then I can go take some action on it. Now, of course, as we go up tiers, we get more tools. At the business tier or the second tier, it breaks out all the limits. This is also where the waveform editing kicks in. So we can't edit on the free tier, unfortunately, but you can get those comments. So again, that for me is the big plus. And then you can up and download videos. So you can take a recording you have from, say, QuickTime at this tier and then put it into Loom. And that gives you a couple advantages. You can edit from there, you can comment on it, and you can share it. So again, Loom isn't just recording. It's really about that collaboration. How do we give people access to this knowledge easily and then get feedback on it and work on it together? The Business Plus AI, you'll hear me call this premium, and that's just a term I have from other systems. But this is all of that plus a bunch of AI stuff. Things like automatically putting in titles and summaries and chapters even. Things like giving us better editing options. Like using the text to edit so we can delete words and that bit of the video disappears. And a whole bunch of new stuff like meeting notes, meeting recaps. Love it. Dynamic titles. Part of the advantage of a cloud-based system is they keep adding features and you might miss them. So I like doing these trainings because I trip over them all the time. But this video variables is new to me. I haven't happened to use it. So these are all the tiers, and this is the pricing. Now, if you are on Enterprise, which is, I don't know how they define it here, but say, it's more than X number of workers, typically you can get some kind of price break, especially if you have other Atlassian products and happen to bundle them. Again, I'm not sure how pricing works for Loom, and it is included in that the TWC package, and it just fell out of my head what that stands for. Not the Weather Channel. Can someone help me out in the chat again? I really should. Nope. I'm going to tap out on that. Now from here, if you want a free account, which I recommend, just give it a shot. You can just click sign up. And essentially all you need is an email. Now it's taking me into my Loom because I'm already logged in. But this is where we can get in and just get a free account to start tinkering with it. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely worth taking a couple minutes to try out the free one. And this can then inform you on, do you want to be using it? All right. So that's the pricing. Next is the Chrome extension. If you look up in my toolbar, I've got this little Chrome icon. Oh, thank you. The Teamwork Collection. I really should know that. I was there when they announced it. I saw it on the screen. And all I did here was click on that little Loom icon. And of course, my Zoom just got stuck. This is beautiful. Okay, it stopped working, but that's fine. And I can see here, this is the Loom control panel. And what you're seeing two of me, because the me on the left is from Loom. And I can put this in different spots as I record. And the me on the right is from YouTube. So I might get rid of the me on the right just for right now. No, I like that one. That one's bigger. But I can see here I have the options for taking a screenshot of the screen. I can take a custom area. So I might click select area. And there we go. And then when I make a recording or a screenshot in Loom, it just opens it up in a new tab. So instantly I can see what I've done. And then I can go share it just by grabbing this URL and giving it to someone else. Now, again, I'm on the Business Plus tier. I got to use the right name. So I have some options like I can annotate. And this is stuff I do all the time, especially when I'm building how-tos. I'll put boxes around what's important. I'll change the color to something that's, easily seeable. I will also point out there's this blur feature. I use this a lot because I accidentally include something that I should not. I can then use the blur to hide it. Now from here, I can just save and copy the link. And now I can go share this with someone. So again, it doesn't matter what other systems I'm using. It does have the cute shutter sound, Chad. I've stopped hearing it because I use it so much. But it is a nice little touch there. Thank you, Jennifer, for helping me out with the Teamwork Collection. So from here, I can just instantly share it. Now, I do have sharing options, and I'll explore this a little bit more in a bit, but I can say anyone can view. So I could give you all the view to this beautiful screenshot, and you should be able to access this. Now, it's a pretty bad screenshot, but just to give an example of how do I share this, it's as simple as a link. I do have other restrictions, though, I can add. I can say only people in my workspace, and think of that like a shared instance of Loom. So my organization may have a workspace. And most restrictive, I can say only specific people. Only people whose name I type in here can see it. I tend to use this most restricted version for things like sensitive product updates. But typically, I find myself leaving it set to workspace because in my experience and what I tend to use it for, I need everyone in my organization to see and access the stuff I'm recording. I don't need to wall it off, but we do have these controls. Somewhat related, there is also a data residency option with Loom, I believe. So if you need your data to reside in Europe or in Asia or in Canada, I believe those are options with Loom. I'm going to close this and we're going to do a quick little video recording so I can show you that. So again, I can go up to my Loom button. I'll change it back to full screen, and I can choose which device. I want to use my camera. I want to use my default mic. And maybe I don't want this background. So I have these effects where I can change it to a nice little office, a giant plant. Maybe we'll do the fairy lights. There we go. And then I have more options. These are more around things like settings, notifications. So once I click record, and I've never done this while I'm streaming, so let me know if the sound gets weird or anything. Now I'm just recording my Loom, and I'm going to come in here and I can do things like, maybe I want to add a folder to better organize my work. And I'm going to call this folder something like Loom Demo. And now I'm in this folder. So folders are another way to organize things. I am awful at organizing. I gave my wife my wife looked at me in terror because I don't organize things very well, and she's super organized on her computer. So in here, I might have specific folders for teams or specific types of things. And then right from that folder, I can record. So I'm still going with my recording. I'm going to go turn it off. I'm just going to click End Recording. And just like the screenshot, it's going to pull me right into that recording. Now you'll notice a couple of things. I'm on, again, the Business Plus, so it used AI to make a name for the video. So this is just a quality of life, a nice feature, where it's going to do things like give me the name. If I'm on the starter or just the business one, I can go in and type in the name, of course. And then also it's giving me a summary. So again, it's using some of that generative AI to help me out here. Now I'm just recording. Oh, there we go. I'm going to mute that so we don't have to hear myself talk. But right away, I have this video. And you'll notice it's playing extra fast. I've noticed the default, I tend to set the playback speed pretty high, especially when I'm getting a first look. But you can change that, so I'll set that back to 1 so we don't see me babbling too much. But right away, I have this recording that I could share out and give to folks. But there's a lot more I can do with this. I've mentioned I can do some editing, so I can click on Edit and Enhance Video. And then down at the bottom, I can see that waveform. And if I click, it'll just skip me to where it's at. So maybe at the end, I don't like the end. I just want to chop that off. So I'll click Split. And my big fat head's in the way, excuse me. Let me go up here. There we go. I can click Split, and then I can just delete this little bit way down here in the corner. And you'll notice in the text, it starts crossing things out as well. So it's visually showing me, hey, this is getting deleted. Maybe I don't want that part either. And now when I run the video, and then right from that folder, I can record. It just stops there. So this is a step I almost always take. I go in and I remove the bits that I'm like, hey, I don't want the start. I was just staring at the screen for a minute. So then when people view it, I can just click Finish. Now they have a nice, tight, concise video. So when they watch specific types of things, they're not going to see those mistakes. They're not going to see those things. So now I can just share this. I can click plus share and give it to folks. I can also share it at a certain timestamp. I haven't really found a use case for this. With Loom, I do it with YouTube videos if I'm sharing a specific point in it. But again, I have these access controls, only people I specify. And I can also share it externally. So I have to connect my Gmail in this case, but I could share this out with all of you so you can all see this amazing video I made about Loom. As well as some other options. I haven't used the social. Ooh, and there's a GIF thumbnail. That's cool. So you'll see there's features that I'm tripping over. And that's something to keep in mind. We all know the parts of the systems we use based on what we use. Trish, I'll get to your question in just a minute. So as you're using the system, you're going to find things that you didn't know existed, which is pretty neat. Yes, Trish, we can. When we go to record, if I just click on the video, you'll see it disappeared. And maybe I don't even want audio, or maybe I just want the image. So in this control panel, I can pick what do? It's also where I can change the effect. Like my background, which can change by video. So as I'm viewing this, let's say some of you sent this to me. Let's say Trish sent me this amazing video. I can put reactions directly in it, and we'll see it on the timeline appear. So when Trish comes back to view this, or when other people view it, they'll see these nice little emojis. And I can also drop a comment. Didn't know I could do this. At a certain point in time. This for me has been incredibly useful. Again, I've built entire learning courses out of Loom, like use Loom to record it. And then I give it to my team for comment. And they can just watch it and hit pause and hit comment and give me feedback immediately. I can just get that information in the recording, and it's made my process a lot smoother because I just have it all there. They don't have to try and send me a Slack or send me an email listing out what they think I need to change. And you can just keep adding comments. And I believe, yep, it does support @mentions Robert. Oh, it doesn't like me though. That's sad. There we go. So that's how to make a recording. Again, it's very straightforward and very quick. If you have Chrome, just use the extension. If you have the desktop, you can do it right from the app. And then you can take video and take screenshots. Now, if you're on the Business Plus AI plan, you have a lot of other things you can do. I've mentioned Confluence a bit. You can generate a Confluence page from a Loom recording. So again, there's that integration. But you can also do things like just get a transcript of it and download the transcript. You can do things like get a step-by-step. And again, this is the AI doing it. But there's a lot of interesting features they're starting to add with the recording. Think if you're recording bugs for an engineering team, you can have it also generate some documentation on that. Typically, I've only been using Loom for the video recording because that's how I started using it. But I'm starting to tinker with some of these other features that get pulled in to help me out. Now, you've heard me also say the ums and uhs a lot. You can go in and slice those out, so I'll spend some time editing and just cut them out of the video. I'm going to quickly check for questions. The chat's been kind of quiet. I can't tell if that's because you are all in awe of this tool or you're all drinking coffee or something else. So I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions in here. I don't think I did. But curious what else you're curious about. Sammy had a question. Integrate Loom with automations. Sammy, if you're still here, would love to hear a little bit more about that, what you mean by integrating with automations in that system. There is a current day, they call it I think it's the SDK recorder, where you can record onto a Jira work item or a Confluence page to add data directly to it. But I don't believe there's any other place in those systems to like automatically add a Loom at this point. I'm going to go back. I just clicked on the top. I'm going to go to my library. And as I mentioned, the library is where all of your recordings and screenshots and everything go. So I am bad at organizing. I've started to try to do it. So right away, I'm going to take this recording and just move it into my Loom demo folder. So this is something that I need to be better at, taking time to go through and organize this stuff. But here I can see all of my videos. And if you look, you can see these little icons. This one has had 1 view, 1 comment, and 2 smiley faces. So this lets me know a little bit about engagement. So if I'm sharing things out with the team, I can see how much they're using it. I also have my screenshots in the next tab over. Wow, and there's a lot about like cats and things. I forgot those were in there. And then an archive. So when we think of our content, and you noticed all those screenshots, like maybe I really should be better about archiving things off. After a while, this particular file may not be as useful, so I can drop it down in the archive. Now this doesn't delete it. This just kind of, I say it's kind of like a library when they get rid of books, they don't destroy them, they put them in the back room. It's still accessible, you can still search for it, but it's not going to show up under video, so it's less cluttered. It makes it easier to organize and keep things sane, I'll say. But I do have some more actions from here. I could delete it, and I'll do that if I make like really bad mistakes in editing. Or I can just unarchive it. And that should put it right back. Oh, it didn't. Nope, that puts it right back in videos. There we go. So I'll put it back in Loom. Fantastic use for training and documentation. This was how I started using it, Chad, was the how-to and like, how do I use the system? And that was the most obvious use case. Again, since then, I've been using it to record even asynchronous project meetings. So I do a lot of project management work, and I have teams all over the world. I might record a status update for the project team so we don't all have to jump on a call. And I even think I heard someone with Loom tried to do an entire project without in-person meetings just to see if Loom could do it. I haven't seen any follow-up on that. I'll see if I can dig it up. But that's another easy use case, replacing the need for in-person meetings. Christopher, is versioning possible? Kind of. And I make that noise. If I go to this menu, you'll see there's no like video version. But if I open up the video, there is an activity log. And this is not at all what I hoped it would be. So it doesn't look like it, Christopher. I'll ask the nice people at Loom what options there could be for this. It is recording, the comments and things. It's not recording, Rob made this edit at this time, which I think is more what you're looking at. Customer support's another one. So Kari's got a great call out here. If I'm confused about how something works, we've all probably put in a help desk ticket and they ask us for more information. If we just include the Loom video, this is exactly what's happening. It helps speed up the nice people on the other side. They can then go figure out, oh, this is exactly what's happening to Rob. Let me go help him out. All right, folks, what other questions do you have? This is kind of the end of like the hands-on demo that I had planned in my head. But if you've got other things you want me to dig into or look at, and also another quick shout out to my Thursday session I'm doing with people from Loom. Definitely recommend you all jump in. I'll drop the link here and then I'll share it again. I want to make sure I get the right one. But we'll be talking about how to use Loom for enablement. This one will also have Q&A, and again, it will have folks from Loom on hand to help answer questions. So I'll definitely take takeaways from this, but also jump into that. It's 11 a.m. Pacific, I want to say, with other rebroadcasts, I believe, at different times. All right, folks, please keep thinking of those questions. I'm going to pop back into my slides. I've got a few left. I don't have a Loom course yet on Udemy. It's something I'm working on. What I do have is one related to Confluence. So if you're interested in that system, one way you can help support me is check out this course and share it with someone who could be interested. And it covers kind of soup to nuts everything you need in Confluence. Being a cloud system, a couple of the screenshots are already out of date with the new UI and all that. But if you're interested in learning Confluence, this is a great place to start. And I'll drop that link down here. Otherwise, next steps. This Thursday, I mentioned at 11 a.m., and there's a QR code to that same link. I'll be chatting with people from Loom about Loom. It's not going to be a hands-on. It's not going to be what we just went over. It's going to be more, how do I use it to be successful with my team? And then briefly walking through one of those use cases. We'll also be showing off some newer features that Loom has, so you'll get a better idea of what else you get if you get those higher tiers. I need to type and talk at the same time better. So please join me there if you're curious to learn more. But in terms of your own learning, get hands-on. Go try that free tier of Loom. You can set up a fake email somewhere on, say, Gmail, if you need a throwaway email, and just experience what it's like to record a video. Oops, excuse me. Need some more coffee here. So take a few minutes to go just try a recording, just to give you an idea of what the tool's like. Because it's one thing to hear me talk about it. It's something else for you to go push the buttons and get a recording. There is also a community, community.atlassian.com, that has forums and training and support around Loom. So that's a great place to go for questions, or, there is a Loom certification, the Atlassian Certified Associate, they call it, that'll make sure you can prove your knowledge of Loom, but also talk to your team about it. I think Chad's already going to check it out, but make time to talk to your team members to see if this is a useful thing. because I have found this to be a useful tool, but every team is different. Every team has its own needs and requirements and standards, and Loom may or may not be a good fit. So it's definitely worth just trying out the free tier and then showing your team, hey team, do we need a new video recording tool? No? Okay, cool. Yes? Hey, check this out. But we also have a Discord community going on, so please feel free to join us there, and we're just chatting about products like Loom. That's intended not just to be for like studying, but also just to share knowledge and share use cases. We've got a channel called Horror Stories where people share the crazy things they've seen people do in systems. And last shout out for me, if you want to help support the channel, please consider becoming a member. You can become a coffee sponsor, and I'll shout out Chad. Thank you for this beautiful Phil's Tesoro roast. It's very nice. I appreciate your support. Other than that, that's all I've got. I'll keep the chat open if folks have more questions so I can make sure I answer them. But I do want to thank you for learning about Loom with me. This recording will be available on the channel soon, and I will have recurring Loom for Beginners videos. So if you know someone who missed this, or if you want to drop in next time to see what might have changed since this one, please feel free to join us, every month or so. But again, thank you for learning with me. You can also pop me an email down at the bottom, robert@heen.tech, and I'll be happy to chat with you. So please feel free to stick around. I'll keep the chat open for another few minutes. But otherwise, have a great Tuesday wherever you happen to be. You're welcome, Justin, Chad, Atlassian Cologne. Jessica, you're very welcome. Christopher, you're welcome. Tushar, I'm sorry, my friend. If you've got specific things, I'm happy to show, to dig into those. Oh no. You may also see me have live learnings at different times coming up soon. I'm changing some things in my life that will allow me to have sessions during the day Pacific Standard. So I'll be tinkering with time zones and things like that. Sarah, you're welcome. Glad you could make it. All right. And someone did pop into Discord. Amazing. We do have that Discord community going. Tushar, yes, this recording will be available after YouTube is done processing it, or whatever they call it. So it should be up on YouTube in 4 or 5 hours, so you can see the whole thing. I will also have another version of this in July. So I'll be doing regular Loom for beginners as we go. All right, folks, not seeing many questions. Again, thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you making time out of your lives to come learn about a cloud-based recording tool with me. It sounds silly, but these are important things. So thank you all again, and looking forward to seeing you in another one of these again soon. Have a great day wherever you are.